Alright, what is up guys? VV back with another video. And in today's video, we got to talk about a certain deck. A certain deck from OP-06. This is over in the East. Blue, purple, Reiju, or Reiju, however you say this. This deck has recently, it just came out in OP-06, so it's a fairly young, deck. So it's kind of making waves, though. As you can see, there's already 12 entries. If I take off the specific search, there's only been 150 entries altogether over in the East at least for the website that I'm using, which is OnePieceTopDecks.com. But again, it's so 100. Let's just say 160 decks have been posted. Out of those 160, 12 are these blue-purple decks here, and they're a little bit different, but they're pretty much all relatively the same. And we're going to talk about the first place list here in this video. Do a little deck tech style video, analyze what's going on, see what's working out. Because if something wins a tournament, excuse me, any deck that wins a tournament over 100 players, that's very. If you win a tournament that's 20 players, that's impressive. 60 players, even more impressive. But 100 plus, 450 plus, that's definitely a big deal. It means that your deck, or whatever the deck is, definitely has the potential to be meta, be considered like, part of the meta decks. So real quick, let's go ahead and run through this list, and then we're going to talk about it. And real quick, one more thing before we get started. I have already kind of explained how this deck works in a previous video. Not this one in particular, but this blue-purple Vinsmoke archetype, the Germa 66 Power Ranger theme, which is really cool. I have done an entire video kind of talking about this in detail, but we're going to analyze this list today. So, all right, let's go ahead and let's just dive right into it. Vinsmoke Reiju, 5,000 power, 4 life leader, standard dual color stats. Check out this effect though. Your turn, once per turn, when one of your Dawn cards on the field is returned to your Dawn deck, draw 1 card. Okay, every card you're going to see in this deck, for the most part, not every single one of them, but most of the cards in this deck are going to be able to trigger that leader effect right away. First up is, so let me go through the list, then we'll go into more detail. So it's running 3 Queen, 1 Khalifa, 1 Miss Doublefinger, 4 of the Vinsmoke Ikiji base form and advanced form, or evolved form, whatever you want to call it, 2 Vinsmoke Judge, 4 Sora, 2k counter, 4 of the basic Niji and the 4 of the advanced or evolved Niji, 4 Vinsmoke Reiju and evolved Reiju. Then we have 4 Kaayas. I'll talk about this in a second. 1 Gion, or Gion, however you say that. 4 Puddings. We'll talk about this in a second as well. And then it has 4 of the event and the stage. The event is a searcher. It's a 1-cost searcher where you look at the top 5 and grab a Germa card, other than this card. And the stage is the same idea. It's a 1-cost stage, and then activate main, trash a card to do a top 3 search. Okay, so very, very powerful. So let's go ahead and look at the main fuel to the deck. Real quick, I just have to explain it for those who do not know. There is a basic form and an evolved form of these 3 main characters here: Ikiji, Niji, and Reiju. There is a 4th one, but this deck doesn't run it. It's the blocker one. I don't know the name off the top of my head. In fact, I'll just look it over here. I'll look it up over on my other screen while we're talking about it. The other guy's name is Yoni. And, excuse me. So they all have this basic form, and here's what it does. Now, they are different cost to them. Like, see, this is a 2-cost, 3-cost, 4-cost. But all of their activate mains are the exact same. And the activate main is Dawn -1. Remember, that's going to draw us a card with our leader's effect, right? So activate main, return 1 Dawn, and draw a card from leader's effect. You may trash this character. If your leader has the Germa 66 type, you may play up to 1 cost 7 Vinsmoke Ikiji from your hand or trash. Now they all correspond to each character, right? So this can summon the 7-cost version of itself. Niji can do the same thing for the 5-cost version, and Reiju can do the 4-cost version. So notice what's going on here. Potentially, you are saving a pretty insane amount of Dawn here by going backwards 1 Dawn. So think of it like this. if you go second and you play down this guy on turn 2, okay, well, you're going to get a 7-cost rusher on your turn, as long as you have less Dawn than your opponent, equal or less Dawn than your opponent. And you're going to be running cards. All of these cards will have that effect, right? Where you're trashing, excuse me, where you're taking a Dawn back. That's what each one of these does. Excuse me. And then you'll also have cards like Queen that do it just inherently. It runs 3 Queens. It's a 5-cost 6K. Blocker. Dawn -1. Draw 2 cards. Then discard 1 card from your hand. So I think, someone correct me if I'm wrong on this, but with the leader's effect, you're going to, on play, Dawn -1, and that, let me see, the thing I'm not sure about is when does that effect trigger? You know, and someone help me out in the comment section if you know. This says your turn once per turn. When one of your Dawn cards on the field is returned to your Dawn deck, draw a card. So my question is this. Do you draw the card immediately if you play Queen and do the Dawn -1 effect? Because the Dawn -1 is the cost to do his effect. So will it go, okay, I'm going to on play Dawn -1, so immediately activate the leader, draw a card, then draw 2, discard 1 card with Queen's effect. Is that correct? Again, someone help me if I'm wrong in the comment section below if you know. But I'm pretty sure that's how it will work. Is you'll draw the card from Reiju first, because that activates right away, because you Dawn -1 before you even activate the second part of Queen's effect, right? Or, well, not the second part, but activate its effect. I don't know. Someone help me out in the comment section, like I said, if you know. Not too sure. Long story short, though, is you're going to draw 3 and trash 1. That's the long story short when you use this. And you're Dawn -1ing, so that's keeping your characters going, right? This list is very interesting that it isn't running the blocker. The Yoni is his name. And I'm just going to bring the card over real quick, just so you guys can kind of see what's going on. This is the blocker card I was talking about. It's a 2-cost 2K as well. Same exact effect in, you know, return 1 Dawn card, and boom, right away you've got a 4-cost 5K. And if the number of Dawn cards on your field is equal to or less than the number of on your opponent's field, this character gains plus 1,000. So it's almost like who even cares if he's a blocker? He'll be a 4-cost 6K, right? Y'all see how that could work. But I think, and you guys, of course, I always want to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section below. But I think the logic on not running him is it takes 1 turn to kind of set everything up, right? 1 or 2 turns, really. Because you really want to aggressively mulligan to get this card in your hand. Because this, first of all, it's a searcher. And it does one other thing. You see what it says? Activate main, you may discard 1 card. That might seem like a bad thing, but it's not. It's not a bad thing, literally, at all. Right, it's actually a very, very good thing, because what it does is it allows you to trash the evolved version, the cards the cards you're trying to evolve into your trash, and then you're going to get to do a top 3 search with this. Well, remember, you're going to play out the only cost you're going to have to pay is for the cheap version. Like for example, with this guy, he is a 4-cost 4K. That almost doesn't even matter. That's almost not relevant, because what you're going to do is you're going to pay 4 to play this guy. You're going to activate main, Dawn -1 him to draw a card from your leader, and then you're going to fish this guy out of your trash can or out of your hand. You can still get him out of your hand as well, right? You see how it says out of hand or trash. But ideally, you want to get him out of your trash because you can't use those cards anymore. The cards in your hand, you can use. Now, this is the main card you want to get your trash through some type of means, because it does not have a counter. If your opponent attacks you, you can counter out with this card or this card to get it into your trash. That's a good thing, because again, you want to play these cards for cheap. Why would you pay 2 Dawn, or excuse me, why would you pay 4 Dawn for this card when you can get it for 2 Dawn, return a Dawn card to stay in the threshold where you're activating the effect, because remember you have to have equal or less Dawn than your opponent, and activate your leader's effect. You see what I'm saying? It's meant to be that way. Okay, everything else is pretty self-explanatory. 2K counter. Now, Judge, I'll talk about briefly here as well. He's like the dad of this group. He's the leader of the group. He is an 8-cost, 8,000 power character. That's okay, but the on-play effect is what makes him playable. Because 8-cost, 8K really, I mean, you could probably... There's a 7-cost, 9K you can grab in purple. That's a vanilla. So this card, for what it's doing is... Or, excuse me, its stats aren't what's good. Its stats are fine, but look at what it does. On play, Dawn -1, trash 2 cards from your hand, play up to 4 of your Germa 66 type character cards with 4,000 power or less from your trash with different names. So in other words, you would grab this guy, and this girl. And then, in that same turn, remember, all you have to do is activate main to get their effects. Now, what do their effects do? This one we already talked about. This is a 7,000 power rush character. Okay, it has rush, and it gives minus 2,000 power to a character for the turn. Very, very strong. Okay, next up, we'll talk about Niji. He is a 5-cost 6k, 1k counter. On play, if you have equal or less Dawn on your field than your opponent, choose one of the following. You can either KO up to one of your opponent's characters that cost 2 or less, or here's the really strong one. Return up to one of your opponent's characters that costs 4 or less to their owner's hand. Guys, that's very, very solid, right? That's going to push, you know, their 4-cost blockers or 3-cost blockers out of the way. 2-cost, 1-cost blockers, it doesn't matter. It's going to push things out of your way, and then you can start smashing in. Very, very powerful effect there. And then last but not least, we have Reiju. This is a 4-cost 5k, 1k counter. That's pretty decent stats for what it does anyway. Because the on play is if you have equal to or less Dawn on your field than your opponent, and if you have 5 or less cards in hand, draw 2 cards. So that is... Draw 2 cards, guys. That's crazy. Draw 2 cards is crazy, guys. Really, really solid. So that's like kind of the engine here. And we'll talk about Kaaya for a second, because this is actually not just a 2k counter in this deck. This is actually a turn 1 play. Because you're going to want to draw 2 and trash 2, and the cards you're going to want to trash are like Ikijis, right? Or if you have more than one Germa Kingdom in your hand, you're going to want to discard one of them. Something like that if you drew 2, or, well, that's not the best example, but you get my point. This Kaaya is very, very solid for its on-play effect. And then later in the game, once you do have your stage going, well, now it's just a 2k counter. It's perfect, right? Ganon is interesting as well. This person ran it as a 1-of. It's a 4-cost 5k, 2k counter. Those stats are already excellent, right? That's already completely fine. But this, listen to what it does. Your turn once per turn. When your opponent activates an event, your opponent places 1 card from their hand at the bottom of their deck. So the idea here is like any type of any type of deck that runs lots of events. You know, think of like Nami, for example. And by the way, if you think that that's crazy, like, oh, who cares about Nami? It literally just got first place in Thailand in OP-06 at an 86-player event. Like, Nami is by no means gone, guys. I'm just clicking on the list so y'all see what's going on here. It's still running tons and tons of events with a little bit of a little bit of pizzazz here and there, right? A little bit of spice here and there. Really interesting stuff going on there. I might have to do a video on that later. But back to what we were talking about. This card, where is it? Gion punishes decks that run lots of events. So if you see your opponent is about to, you know, say they leave, or even like green-purple, right? Green-purple Dofi runs tons of events. So it's like, oh, okay, you know, you're going to leave more than 2 Dawn active in one turn or something like that. Like if you see what's going on there. Okay, well, I'll just drop this down. Okay, now I'm going to start attacking. And then, you know, it only happens once per turn, but this card's on the board, and that deck probably won't have a way to deal with it unless it Punk Gibson's this card. Then it's wasting attack into this. Y'all see what's going on. It has a lot of synergy. He only runs as a 1-of, so I guess he was more testing it. Because at the end of the day, it is just a 2k counter, right? It'll always be a 2k counter, no matter what. So that is nice. And a 4-cost 5k body is really not bad. Then we are running 2 of these Charlotte Puddings. This card seems absolutely toxic. So let me read it to you guys real quick. 4-cost, 4,000 power, 1,000 counter. On play, your opponent returns all of their cards to their hand. Or excuse me, all of the cards in their hand to their deck, shuffles their deck, then they draw 5 cards. So notice what that means. Now, if they had if they had 1 card in their hand, you wouldn't want to use this. But if your opponent has like 7 or 8 cards in their hand and they play this, there goes those 7, 8 cards. They go to the bottom of the deck, and then they're going, it does say you return it to the deck and shuffle it, and then they're going to draw 5 new cards. That is brutal, guys. This is basically a hand discard effect, but it's way better than a hand discard effect because it doesn't go to the trash. If it went to the trash, then it would fuel decks like Thriller Bark Pirates, you know, the black cards and stuff like that. Dressrosa, Thriller Bark Pirates, things like that. So really, really great tech card here. Excuse me. If your opponent is like, if you're playing against a Whitebeard or something, which again, guys, look, this is OP-06. We're still seeing first place Whitebeard lists. If you drop this card on them when they have like 9 or 10 cards in their hand, where did it go? They are mad. They are upset, I promise you. Because, again, they're just going to shuffle their hand into their deck and then just draw 5 cards. That's it. So, y'all see what's going on there, guys. This card is extremely powerful. And, again, this comes out in OP-06. Right, guys, that's about it. Everything else is pretty straightforward. They run 1 Khalifa, 1 Zala, 1 Gion, and, you know, altogether, they're running about 11 2K counters. 1 Khalifa, 1 Zala, 1 Gion, and then 4 Kaaya and 4 Sora. Sora is, she is searchable with the Vinsmoke stuff, the Germa 66 stuff, but the others are not, because Pudding is obviously Big Mom Pirates, Gion's Navy, Kaaya's East Blue. Zala is Baroque Works, and Khalifa is Water 7 and Galila Company. This card is actually very good to just play out, by the way. It's a 4-cost 4K, 2K counter, but it has when attacking, Dawn -1, draw 2, trash 1 from your hand. So exact same thing as Queen. So it triggers your leader's effect, and you're going to be able to replenish your hand and things like that, and trash a card. See, the trash card effect is very underrated in a deck like this. You have to understand how strong it is to be able to trash cards. All right, guys, I'm done rambling. Hope you guys enjoyed. What do you guys think about this deck? Do y'all think this deck is like as cool as I think it is? Because remember, I did an entire video on this talking about how awesome I think the Vinsmoke family Germa 66 Power Ranger theme was. I thought it was so cool. But anyway, very awesome. Do you guys think the same? Are y'all looking forward to trying this deck out, or are y'all not looking forward to trying out a deck that's going to be this, you know, like hyper aggressive, cheating Dawn? You know, because remember, guys, it's cheating. For four Dawn, you're getting a 7 cost. You guys see what I'm saying? For 8 Dawn, you're going to get an 8 plus 7 plus 5 plus 4 potentially, right? In one turn, you're going to get a 15, 20, 24 Dawn turn. You know what I mean? Just crazy. Just awesome, too. Very, very cool. So, you guys tell me what y'all think in the comment section below. Hope y'all enjoyed. And if you have not done it already, please like and subscribe. And until next time, guys, peace.